Hey, what's up, people? Today we are talking about the three most iconic movies from my childhood. Now, these are movies that I watched when I was really young, but I feel like they kind of set the stage for the type of horror movies that I liked growing up. Also, I feel like horror movies were just a little bit different back in the day. You know, there are those iconic classics that you just can't forget, no matter how hard you try. We have three movies on the lineup today, and one of those I watched when I was only 6 years old, so stay tuned to find out which one. Roll intro. The first movie we have here on the list is Jeepers Creepers 2. Now, this is the first horror movie I watched all the way from beginning to end. And you know, I love talking about horror movies with people because I feel like almost everyone has that one story from when they were a kid where they watched a horror movie when they weren't supposed to. Like, there's the classic story of, you know, you go over to your friend's house or your cousin's house for a sleepover, and after their parents send you to bed, they lean over and they whisper,
"Hey, you want to watch something scary?"
And then they put on a movie that their parents bought them that they probably didn't even know was a horror movie. And, you know, and it scars you for life. But, you know, that's all part of growing up. For me, that was Jeepers Creepers 2. I was over at a cousin's house, and me and their siblings sat down to watch this with my older sister. And let me tell you, I will never forget this movie. It's a monster horror about a creature that wakes up every 23 years for 23 days to feed before going back to sleep. You know, he's like a cat in that way. Now, the reason I'm talking about Jeepers Creepers 2 here is because I actually watched 2 before watching 1. And in fact, I didn't watch Jeepers Creepers 1 until maybe 10-15 years after I watched Jeepers Creepers 2. So in part 2, the Creeper is hunting a group of teenage kids who are on a school field trip. He starts picking them off one by one in horror movie fashion, and the way he hunts for them kind of stands out. First of all, he can fly. Second of all, he uses handcrafted tools that he made himself. And 3 is he's actually able to sniff out the people that he wants to hunt. He specifically hunts certain people through their smell. What exactly does he smell? He's smelling you, the non-subscribers to this channel. So hurry up and subscribe before he comes after you too. Now, I have seen the first movie, but that was way after the second movie. And actually, I'm kind of glad that as a kid especially, the second movie was my first introduction, because I would have been way less freaked out if I'd seen the first movie first. In the first movie, he's a bit more human-like in the way he interacts with people, whereas in the second movie, he's a lot more animalistic. It comes off more like a force of nature with heightened intelligence. And of course, what's freakier than something you cannot stop that is dead set on hunting you down? Because the dude is indestructible and he's way stronger than you could possibly imagine just by looking at him. The movie itself is a classic to me because it's got a good mix of realistic and mystic elements to it. It's got that early 2000s air of mysterious and esoteric lore that doesn't require that the monster be a demon of some sorts like they are in every movie nowadays. Overall, I'll give this an 8 out of 10 because honestly, it still holds up today. If you want a horror movie that'll freak you out, but you don't like ghosts or spooky things, just the creature hunting you down, well, then this is the movie for you. And actually, I still have dreams every now and then about the creeper hunting me, so yeah, this one stuck with me. The next movie on the list is 13 Ghosts, spelled with the number 13 in the name. So this movie is about a dad and his kids who inherit a house from his uncle, the dad's uncle, after he passes away. I say passes away, but more like killed by ghosts. He was a ghost hunter, but I guess now he's a ghost hunted. And it turns out that the uncle was actually capturing these ghosts and trapping them in the house. He was able to trap them by using these Latin symbols on glass walls. Now, while the ghosts can't actually pass through the walls because of these symbols, they can walk around them. And the walls in the house are designed to move, so that you can have like access to certain rooms at certain points. And yeah, I'm sure that's a great design. So one really unique thing about this movie is that the ghosts are actually invisible unless you're wearing these special kind of glasses that allow you to see them. So throughout the movie, you actually get flashes of the ghosts from different people's perspectives, depending on if they can see them or not. Now, don't get me wrong, the ghosts can still fuck you up whether you've got the glasses on or not, so don't start thinking out of sight, out of mind. Now, the main thing that makes this movie so iconic for me, especially when I saw it as an 8-year-old, was that all the ghosts in the movie have their own unique design. They're not just shades and wispy figures, you know, they all have very unique styles based on who they were when they were alive or how they died. The people who made the movie went through a lot of effort to give each ghost their own lore and backstory in order to make them look all unique in their own way. I love the idea of there being spirits that were once human, but now that they're dead, they're just roaming around killing people in their own way, especially because the way that they do it is based on who they were when they were alive. I feel like in a lot of movies, ghosts just kind of have like generic ghost powers or just become magical because they're dead. And, you know, that's fine every now and then, but, you know, when you already have demons throwing people across the room, why do you need a ghost doing that too? You know, like give them something unique, give them something special. You know, they don't all need to be doing the same thing. It's just, it makes each horror movie just feel cheaper and generic. You know, just a way to like make a movie very quickly and get the money without really having to put any effort into it and like, what is the ghost actually doing or where the ghost's power actually stem from, you know? So if you're interested in learning more about these ghosts and what they're up to, then check out this movie. I'd give this movie a 7.5 out of 10, especially because seeing Shaggy running around avoiding ghosts in this movie was much more satisfying than seeing him in that live-action Scooby-Doo movie. And now, last but not least on the list is the first horror movie that I ever watched as a kid, Freddy vs. Jason. Now, while this is technically the first horror movie I ever watched, I did not finish it because it was way too spooky for me. So when I watched this movie, I was actually told not to by my mom, and then she promptly fell asleep. So, you know, I was really interested in this movie because my cousins kept talking about it, and I thought, well, I want to watch it too. So I put the movie in, and yeah, it was not such a great idea as I came to realize. And you know, even after that, I feel like I still kind of missed out because my cousins would still talk about the movie, but I had no idea what happened at the end of it. So, you know, yeah.
Pointless.
So this movie is a collaboration between Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and Jason from the Friday the 13th series. You remember how Disney used to do a lot of those collaborations between shows back in the day? Well, this was the horror movie equivalent of that. So in this movie, Freddy brings Jason back to life and sets him loose on the general public while Freddy hunts them down from their dreams. Now, of course, as a child, if you watch this movie or any Nightmare on Elm Street movie, you would be terrified of going to bed. Not only because there's something that could get you in the dark, but something that could get you in your dreams.
In your dreams.
So the wombo combo between Jason in real life and Freddy in your nightmares, you know, it's a recipe for disaster. This movie really freaked me out in that way because, like I said, I was terrified in the dark now because of Jason, and I was terrified of going to sleep because I thought Freddy would get me. I should not have been watching horror movies this young. But you know what? Honestly, I feel like it was an experience that I would have missed out on otherwise because, you know, I'm fine now. You know, almost nothing scares me anymore. And this might be because of all the horror movies I've watched growing up from a very young age, you know? Or, you know, it could have just been how I turned out. But, you know, I'm okay now. So what's the real harm, you know? It's not like it left any psychological damage. But anyways, back to Freddy versus Jason. So you've got Jason in the real world and Freddy in the dream world. And they kind of just stay on their own turf throughout the movie. Or do they? Now, I won't spoil the movie for you, but if you were looking for a Kong vs. Godzilla style horror movie, this is the one for you. Now, I actually did end up rewatching the movie, watching it from the start all the way to the end. And honestly, I'm a bit disappointed because the movie was actually too funny to take seriously.
You serious?
I mean, after the first time I watched it as a kid, I was too scared to take a shower because there was this one scene where Jason kills this girl's boyfriend while she was taking a shower. And I was like, holy crap, what if I'm in the shower and I get targeted? But you know, as an adult, after seeing a bunch of horror movies, you know, this is kind of like par for the course. It's not that special, so it doesn't really freak me out. And honestly, you can't take Freddy seriously at all.
Tilt.
Like with all the one-liners and jokes that he makes, it's like if a stand-up comedian died and became a serial killer. And honestly, the main characters don't help because they end up making the weirdest decisions throughout the movie, to the point where it almost feels like a parody.
You kids need some assistance?
It really only feels like they were there so that Jason and Freddy had someone to kill and kind of to move the plot from A to B. These are the actual main characters of this movie, don't get it twisted. So one key thing I liked about this movie, watching it as an adult, was the juxtaposition between Freddy's character and Jason's character. Freddy's character has a lot of personality to him. You know, you always know what's on his mind. Like a lot of horror ghosts and demons and whatever don't really have a personality. Everything you learn about them is either through a book or through some like sidekick or something that knows more than, you know, the main characters, and they go and they learn from them. You know, it's always secondhand knowledge. But with Freddy, you know, you get everything up front. You just listen to him talk, you just see his crazy mannerisms and you know what he's about. Jason, on the other hand, he's the typical, you know, I'm just gonna follow you till you trip and then kill you kind of villain. So seeing Freddy and Jason in the same movie was really interesting in that sense. I think the only other villains in a horror movie that I can think of that have that much personality to them is probably the clown from the Terrifier series and Chucky from Child's Play and, you know, Chucky.
Shut up, you idiot.
So if you're looking for something fun to watch that's not too spooky, honestly, I feel like you'll get more laughs than anything out of it. This is new for you. Overall, I give it an 8 out of 10. Very solid watch. And with that, there you have it. 3 iconic movies from my childhood. Let me know what you thought about them, and let me know what movies you watched as a kid that you definitely should not have been watching and why you were watching them. With that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.